And the agenda is actually based on questions that I received from Prerna in reference to this webinar, things that you might feel that you do not have enough information on, or just would like to have more information on. So I will very briefly today just touch these following subjects in order to give you basic information on Finnish law and practice in relation to our Finnish legal system and how it works in practice. And then I will go more further into like marriage and divorce, and in adjoining matters, for example, custody matters, and also prenuptial agreements, separation of assets. And then I will continue with the matters referring to death, like inheritance, and also some inheritance planning, like last will and testaments. And then I will also touch the subject of power of attorney and domestic violence. And at the end, I hope that there might be some questions so that we can try to open some issues that have been perhaps a problem or that you need more information on. And as a last resort, you are of course welcome to contact me after this webinar if you need more help in a specific issue. But I think that we should just start, and let's go with this Finnish legal system and the courts. Finland is a civil law country, and the difference between common law countries and civil law countries are the actual source of law. And I know that India is a common law country, which then the most important source of law is judicial cases. And when again a civil law country is based on rules and regulations that defines and protects the private rights of citizens, and they offer legal remedies that might be sought in a dispute in relation to, for example, family law. And so we have laws for everything. We have a marriage act, we have an inheritance act, we have an agreement act, so where you can find relevant paragraphs for your issues. We have general courts in Finland. They are district courts, and then you can appeal the decision to courts of appeal, and then the last instance is the Supreme Court in Helsinki. It's located in Helsinki. There's only one. And the cases are divided in two different areas. So one is civil court, where issues of contracts and also family law, property disputes, for example, they are resolved in civil courts. And then we have the criminal court cases, which then are violence, domestic violence, for example, or other cases that you have to bring up with the police in order to get to the criminal court. But they are all actually in the same court. So you have one district court, but they have two different sets of like how do you say like areas that they deal with. And in addition, we also have the administrative courts and special courts. The special court is, for example, for insurance cases or labor law, and administrative courts are, for example, if you have taxation issues, which are not then civil courts or criminal courts. In Finland, you also have the possibility to have free. You go to court for free if you do not have means to retain a lawyer of yourself. You can have legal aid. We have these legal aid offices in Espoo for once, and also Helsinki. I think all the municipalities have these this service, and it's based then on how much you earn if you are then eligible for legal aid. But I think that is perhaps what we have time for now, and then we will continue going through matters of marriage. I understood from Prerna that people are coming to Finland that already are perhaps in marriages, and they have also children, and they come to Finland to work for a specific period of time. So it would be a good thing, and actually, of course, important to register the marriage if you were married in India or somewhere else. In order to do so, you need to submit the original or a legalized certificate of marriage to an authority in Finland called the Digital and Population Data Service Agency. I will refer to this authority multiple times during this presentation. I'm going to say DPA because it's so long. So you have to register your marriage with this authority in order to, of course, then avoid misconception about your legal status as a married person. But if you then is not married and you want to get married in Finland, you do the same. You actually contact the DPA, and then you have to go through, it's like an examination of impediments to marriage, which then they do like an examination of if you are 18 years, you cannot be minor in Finland. If you are married before, because you cannot marry twice, and things like this, or that you cannot marry your close relatives. So this is a requirement before the marriage ceremony to take place. You can conclude a marriage in different instances in Finland. You can be married in a religious community, for example, the Lutheran Church, or you can also be married at the district court. The judges usually have the power to wed people, or also at the local register office. And these instances, they register the marriage like automatically when it has been conducted at any of these. So then you do not have to do the registration separately. And when you marry in Finland, you have the possibility to choose your surname. They will ask you this before the ceremony, which is the name that you would like to have. So you can see from my name that I have a double name. It's like Norrback-Ilvessalo, and that means that Norrback is my name from my family that I used when I was not married, and then it's a hyphen Ilvessalo, and that is my husband's name. So I chose to have a double name. You can choose to also keep your own name, so I could be Johanna Norrback only, or I can also take my husband's name, just Ilvessalo. And actually, it's the same for the husband. He can also choose to take the woman's name, or you can together have a double name. So, and you can also just come up with a new name together, for example. So you have these lots of possibilities actually. There are, of course, some limitations. You cannot take for example, if you a name that is protected, you have names that you cannot just take, but there is a procedure, and you can just make an application if you would like to register an entirely new name, for example. And it's the same thing with your children. You can also decide on what the surname your children will have. Usually, if the spouses are not married and have a child, the child will get the mother's name But if the parents are married, then the child will get the like the family name if you have one. So yeah, that's it's actually quite common for women to not take the husband's name and just keep your own. Actually, it's very, very common. Before you get married, it's recommended and a good idea to go through also the financial circumstances around your marriage, because it's also a financial agreement. And now I do not have information about how you go about it in India, but I guess that you also have prenuptial agreements of some sort. In Finland, it's very common to have a prenuptial agreement saying, for example, that the parties should have their properties is personal and private, so that in case of divorce, you will just walk away with your own property, and not that is not subject to marital property, which means according to Finnish law, if you do not have a prenuptial agreement, the entire marital property like post will be divided 50-50. You can draw up, usually it's drawn up together with an attorney in order to, of course, perhaps go through the different contexts and what happens. And you can decide on percentages or whatever, but the bottom line is that if you do not do anything, it's 50-50. A prenuptial agreement becomes valid after it has been registered with the same authority as I mentioned before, the DPA. You can send the prenuptial agreement for registration 1 month before the day of the wedding at the earliest, but it will not be registered before the date of the marriage. And if you have already a prenuptial agreement when you come to Finland, I recommend that you do have this one registered as well, and go through it with a lawyer so that it works also in Finland. I have a lot of clients who come to me from common law countries, for example, America and England, and they have their prenuptial agreements are very different. Setup is different, and also, of course, since the taxation is different from in every country, it is important to go through it in order for it to work as it should. And also, of course, in case of divorce, that it actually that it works also in Finland or wherever you then decide to get a divorce. Prenuptial agreement you can terminate and also replace whenever you want to. Divorce, legally valid court decisions on divorce by foreign courts. So if you are divorced in another country, you should have the divorce also registered here in Finland. Divorce in Finland, if you want a divorce here, it is very easy to have a divorce. There is no fault. You just submit an application and you can do it by yourself or jointly. And all that it takes is that you get a reconsideration period of 6 months, or if you have lived separately for at least 2 years with interruptions, you can have the divorce. Usually when you divorce in Finland, you need to fill out a form saying that if you have children, that you will make an agreement also on the children in relation to custody, maintenance and visitation. But spouse maintenance is an exception, which makes Finland a very popular place to get a divorce, actually, because there is no spousal maintenance usually. So forum shopping is actually quite common that people try to come home to divorce, actually. As I said, when you get a divorce, you have to also decide on the matters of custody, maintenance and visitation, and when it comes to the kids. What you do is in Finland, you usually just make an agreement if you are able to communicate with your spouse. You make an agreement in relation to if you are going to have joint or sole custody. In Finland, it's almost always joint custody. It's very difficult to get sole custody. Living arrangements, with whom the child should be living, how many days per week should see the other parent, etc., and the amount of maintenance paid to the parent that lives and provides for the children. You can do this with your lawyer, or also at the social services with a child welfare officer. But if it's not possible to come to an agreement, you can make an application to the district court, and this case will then be handled in the district court. The court will always, before you go to a full-blown process custody case, they will ask if you are willing to participate in family mediation. Actually, it's a very good service, and I would actually know that 75% of all cases that go to mediation actually ends in an agreement. This is one way, and the other way is to contact a private attorney, which is a licensed mediator. I am a licensed mediator that sit down with the parents and try to reach an agreement. In relation to divorce, we also have the separation of assets. Again, in Finland, it is possible to just come to an agreement. You take this bed, I take the car. You take this, I take that, and that's it. You don't have to file it anywhere. You don't have to register it anywhere. So usually that is how it's done. Again, if you cannot come to an agreement, you can apply to the district court to have an executor appointed, which is usually a lawyer. I act as executor quite a lot, or administer of the marital property in order to have it then distributed. And then, yeah, okay, let's move on. I heard that we should try to rush through this. The next big chapter is inheritance and inheritance planning, and in case of death. If a person that lives in Finland dies, Finnish law is applicable as a principle if there is not a last will stating that another law is applicable to the estate and matters of inheritance. We have in Finland, what happens when a person dies, it becomes automatically like an estate, and the estate is a separate legal entity controlled by the shareholders in the estate, which is the children and the husband and wife or other beneficiaries. And the shareholders do make joint decisions, and again, they can just come to an agreement and divide the estate how they want. But again, if there is a dispute and they cannot come to an agreement, you can make an application to the district court and have a lawyer appointed, which then is like an administrator and a distributor of the estate. Also, what happens as at the time of death is that time frame of 3 months starts running. You have to submit. It's like an inventory of the estate, which is actually a tax declaration that have to be submitted then to the taxation authority in order to decide the amount of inheritance tax. The inheritance tax in Finland is progressive, and it's between 7% to 19% if you are a close relative. It can be quite complicated to draw up an inventory if there is property in different countries, and also if the deceased person has lived in different parts of the world. And this is actually one of the things that I handle the most in like international estates, people that has property in many different countries. So I actually strongly recommend that if you have property in many countries, then in order to avoid problems in the future, you should plan your inheritance by drawing up a will at least. And now Silva will take over because she has investigated this. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I understood that one of the concerns or questions was if in the unfortunate case of a death in Finland, how a foreign citizen, or actually the family of the foreign citizen, how they should proceed in this case. And the cause of death is investigated, and the deceased person is processed in accordance with Finnish legislation if this happens in Finland. But the family members should contact the diplomatic mission. I believe some of you are already familiar with the Indian embassy in Helsinki, and they are actually the people that can help with matters related to death, such as arranging transport, burial, and cremation. And the deceased person may be transported out of Finland once the cause of death has been determined here and they have a permit that has been issued. The person can be transported abroad in a coffin or cremated here in Finland for the ashes to be transported abroad. Transport in a coffin requires a body transport permit, but for this, usually funeral homes can assist you in requesting such permit. And what is really important here is to make sure that you have an up-to-date insurance policy, because as we all can understand, this can become quite expensive, but with a good insurance policy that will cover all the expenses. Thank you.
Okay, so back to me, which again leads us to the fact that it's important to plan if you live in another country than where you want to be buried, but also where we have a lot of family. Will is easy to do in Finland. It doesn't require any registration or notary. Anyway, it's very informal in that way that you can draw up your will almost at home or together with a lawyer, but there are strict conditions on 3 things, and that is witnessing. And there have to be 2 witnesses present at the same time, and the witnesses cannot be a close relationship. And then you have to sign it yourself, and it has to be dated. But otherwise, you don't have to keep it anywhere. You don't have to register it anywhere. So usually we recommend that you keep your last will in a bank vault or with your legal counsel in order so that it can be found easily when it's time to take a closer look at what the person wants. Another issue that was asked is gifts. Again, it's easy to draw up a gift deed in Finland. Again, no registration, no notary, nor nothing, except I recommend, of course, that you contact a lawyer in order to go through what the goal is, and in order also to go through perhaps a taxation issues, because in Finland, you cannot give tax-free gifts over an amount of 5,000 euros in the course of 3 years. After this, it's quite a big gift tax on gifts given. So it's like 8% until 70% for close relatives. It's a progressive tax that as well. So the more you give, the higher the tax is. But there is an exception with parents. You can give tax-free financial assistance to a child, for example, when he or she moves to his own apartment, and he or she needs, of course, furniture and things like this. You don't have to make a gift deed for this, but always it's important to have documentation on it, also in order to avoid arguments between your children in the future also, that, oh, but she got this and he got that, and that's why it is important to keep that in mind, to have it on paper. In Finland, this might be perhaps different from many other countries. We have something called the continuing power of attorney. You can at any time in your life decide who is going to take care of your financial matters. For example, if you cannot do it, for example, you all know the weather we are dealing with now. Anybody can just walk outside the door and hit your head, and you cannot deal with your bills and whatever daily issues. And this power of attorney will help a lot for relatives or your spouse or whatever, to take care of the daily matters that you usually take care of yourself. So this is a very flexible option for organizing and managing your affairs. It's done like the same thing as with the will, also that you contact your lawyer and you do this power of attorney, and it does not come into force before it's needed. So once a person cannot take care of his or her affairs, then this power of attorney is then registered with the DPA, and then comes into force and will help you deal with banking matters and things like this. But as a last resort, an option to organize a client's affair is the appointment of a guardian, but then you are stripped of all the rights to deal with any kind of issues yourself. So this is absolutely a last resort, and also for a person that has not perhaps drawn up a power of attorney before, or have close relation who can do this for them or take care of them in that sense. Domestic violence exists in Finland as in any country. What you do if this happens to you is, of course, in cases of emergencies, you call 112. This will bring the police to your house or wherever you are, and the process will then take off, because the police will make a police report. They will also make a report in relation to the children, if you have children, and if then it is a severe case of domestic violence, it will continue to the district court if then you please. Since it is a case between adult people, the battered spouse can refrain from taking it to court, but if there are kids involved, you cannot. Then it will automatically go to court. If it's not a case of emergency, but you feel that you are in danger and things have happened and the case is building up, then I recommend you go to visit the police station and make a report. In order for also the documentation is so important in these matters. You should not try to try to hide or hide these facts. The more evidence you have, if you need it, I would say it's important to have the records of all that has happened in order to be able to get, for example, a restraining order. If you need one of those, you cannot get them without having evidence of what has actually happened. So that is why it is important to keep track of what happens. In Finland, we also have these the social services. You have, for example, shelters where you can go for protection. You can also take the children with you and stay the night, or for one day, or for weeks, actually, if the case is really bad. And you will there get help from the social service and the social workers there, and they will, of course, guide you through the system. But the important thing is that there is help to get, and it doesn't cost anything. The shelters are free, and we have more information at the end about this if needed. here are some links to the pages that we have where we have gathered information. And you can also find them in English. I think almost all of these pages actually are in English, yes. And we also have at the really last page the more specific web pages, so that you can find more information about what I've just said very briefly. But as in relation to this presentation, I think that I'm done, and I will be happy to answer questions if there are questions at this point.
You're on mute, brother. Yeah, I just saw. So thank you for the wonderful presentation and so much of information. We have some questions here. We'll start with some basic questions, and then we'll go on to more complicated and technical ones. So the first question is that what is the difference between will and testament?
There is no difference. It's just a matter of wording. Testament in Finnish, it's testamentti, for example, and testament also, but last will is what you use more, I think, in common law countries.
Okay. And you said that you can keep the will in your bank locker. So just when I make a will, do I need to get it attested or signed by somebody before I safeguard it or put it at a safe place?
Yes, you have to sign it yourself. That's the main thing. And then have two witnesses at the same time present in the room when you sign it. The witnesses should not see the content of the will, but they should be there in order to secure that you know what you're doing, that you are saying at the moment, that you know and understand that you are signing a will, and also that you actually signed it yourself. So that's why that's it.
Can the witness be my blood relations, my close family members, for like my children or my spouse, or do the witnesses have to be outside my blood relations?
No, they can be blood relation, but not your kids and not your spouse. But you can have perhaps your second cousin or things like that, but not the real close one. No.
Okay.
And over 18.
Yes, that's actually good. So I have second question about, if somebody dies here in Finland, and we in Hinduism, we cremate the person, like we burn the body. So do we need some special permission to do it here in Finland? Like, is an authority we can reach out to or something?
What was the last part of the question?
So if somebody in for a resident, a Finnish resident here passes away, and the family is here only, and they want to cremate the body, so do you need any special permission to cremate it our way, as in if we follow Hinduism, or then do you need any special permission for that from the state to burn the body?
No, after the cause of death is investigated and everything is done, then it is possible to do the cremation here in Finland as well. And then if you so wish, you can bring the urn to your home country.
Okay. Thank you. Then, if as a parent, I have assets in different countries, then what document would you suggest is important? For example, if I have assets in Finland and I have assets in India, and when I am making a will and transferring it to my children, then selling the property there, bringing the money here, although it is a gift, will the taxation amount be the same as you stated here, or will there be a different tax levied on that?
No, it's the same. If the person that receives a gift is living in Finland and is considered to be a tax resident of Finland, then he or she has to pay gift tax regardless of where the money comes from.
Okay. Just for more information, for example, if my father has gifted me something and I want to sell it and bring the money to Finland, um, what all documents do I need to procure in order to, show it to the government that this is a gift? Uh, just a gift deed from my father, if it is attested and properly done in India, then will that work? Right? If I have a gift deed prepared in India, and can I show it to the Finnish authorities that, hey, this was a gift to me and my father registered it for me?
Well, what you have to do is always to make a tax declaration in Finland. If you get an inheritance from abroad, for example, you have to make an inheritance tax declaration. And if you get gift, you have to make the same. So you can find all the information on the Finnish taxation authorities page. There are forms for everything in Finland. So there is a form for this as well. So as long as it goes over the 5,000 euros, you should make the declaration.
Okay. There's one more question that somebody has asked that, if I have created a will, put it in my bank locker, post my death, who can access that locker?
After you have died,
Yeah.
you mean? Okay, so the shareholders of the estate, so any of them can just get like a power of attorney to decide that, this and this person will go, and then you have to show the power of attorney to the bank and say that I have the right from all the shareholders of the estate to open this vault.
Okay. Okay.
And if there is only one, if there is only one child, for example, in the estate, or one person getting the inheritance, then this person just need to show that I'm the only one that has the right to this inheritance. So there are some paperwork, but it's not complicated in any way.
Okay, for just to make it more clear that for example, I make a will, I make it for my child, two other witnesses sign it, I put it in the bank locker, right? I don't tell my child actually that it is all named after you. How does my child get to know that my child is the only one who's getting everything?
Okay, Prerna, we use you as an example. When you die, the banks, all the banks where you have an account will automatically send a statement, a bank statement, and actually the condolences that we know that Prerna has now deceased and we are sorry. And in order to take care of these matters, you need to do this and this and this. So you get an immense amount of information from the bank directly home. So anybody who then opens these letters will know that there is a vault.
Okay, that's great then. That's why. Then I have another question which says that they're married couples holding a joint account, and can the living spouse access it and use the account, if the other one dies, like if there is an accident and, spouse are living together and they have a joint account and they have all their money in the joint account and one of them dies and there is no prenuptial agreement or there's no agreement as such. So can one spouse keep continuing to use that account, or will the account freeze, or and there some
I understand. Yeah, this is a difficult question, and I have to say that it varies a little bit from different banks. The principle is, of course, that if a person dies, you should not be able to use the assets before the inventory has been done and the property divided. But what can happen or what you can do in Finland is all the invoices that comes in the deceased name, you can take them to the bank and the bank will automatically pay them. But you will not be able to withdraw a lot of money or just transfer it without having these things taken care of, like the inventory and the distribution, which is a problem. So I recommend, yes, that you do have more than one account.
Yeah. Okay. There's one more question which say this person is asking that she wants to add her husband's surname in addition to her own surname, but it has been several years of marriage. And is it like, how can they do it in Finland? It's not immediate. For example, it's been 10 years or 12 years of their marriage, and now this person feels that I want to add my husband's surname too, along with my surname. And they've been married in India. So is it possible to do it in Finland?
Yes, it is possible. It's the same authority. It's the DPA. You have to make an application that you would like to change your name.
Okay.
And then it's into what?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been such an interesting session that there are so many questions.
Questions.
lined up. So maybe Prerna, you want to still go ahead and look if you've like asked everything. Because I
Yeah,
must
yeah,
tell
there
you,
is.
we have so many people watching you live, and also a lot of people asking a lot of questions as well.
Great.
We might not have enough
I'm glad
time.
to hear it. Yes, I've really tried to rush through this, but you know, everybody is welcome to just contact me after this as well. So
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
thank you
sure.
so much for that.
And there's one more question, that if they're bicultural parents, one Indian and one Finnish, and in that case, if there is a custody issue, then since they're both resident in Finland, the Finnish law will be applicable. They cannot go to the Indian law for custody.
actually, custody is dependable on the child's habitual residence, not the parents. So it's if the child also lived in Finland and has, you know, made his or her life here, going to school, having friends and things. So then the custody matters will be taken care of in Finland. But
Okay.
these are, yes, very difficult questions. I deal a lot with also child abduction cases when one party does not want to live in Finland anymore, or the other way around, and wants to take the child with him, or brings the child to Finland. So, but then it is at least according to Finnish law, it is the habitual residence of the child that is decisive.
Okay, so there is a very simple question, that where can somebody prepare a power of attorney? Like, which forum to reach? Is it Mestarati? Like, should they go to Mestarati or some other place if I want to prepare a power of attorney?
Maistrati is actually now the DPA that I talked about. It has changed name, but it's the same. But no, they will not prepare it. They will only register it. So you need to contact me or another
Okay,
lawyer.
yeah, we contact you then for that. That's good. There's one question which says that if both the parents are, if X and Y are married and they have one kid, and both the parents die in an accident together, and since they're Indians, and somebody in India now wants to take the child back home, is it possible? What can be the legal processes for it, or where can we look up for the legal process? Which authority to contact?
The district court, I would say, on top of my head, you need to apply for custody also. But I think in this case, if it actually is an accident, there will of course be the social services will be automatically involved. So I cannot answer this question on like this, but as a last instance, it is the custody must be tried in some way, that who has the right and who is the best possible person to be a custodian. So but in Finland we do try to find in cases like this relatives that will take care of them instead of trying to give them to total strangers. So if there is a relative who wants to bring the child back to India, I don't think this is a problem other than for, of course, bureaucracy, but it should not be in theory a problem.
Okay. One really important questions. Can gift be given to anybody who's under the age of 18?
Yes, you can give gifts
Okay.
to people.
And another thing related to this is that I want to buy a property in my child's name, who is just 3 years old. Okay. And is it possible to do that? And so that when my child turns 18, I can actually gift it to the child if she's going to the college, or if she wants to sell it and buy a new house. And I just want to. So is it possible that I buy a property, a joint property, like with me, and putting her as a joint owner there, even when the child is underage?
A minor child's property is supervised by this, again, the DPA. So you have to make, if a child owns a lot of property, they will check that you do not use the child's property in the wrong way. So and buying property in the child's name is possible, but you need permission from this authority to do this, because buying a property also comes with a lot of costs, which of course a 3-year-old cannot pay for. So this is why it has to be like examined on what grounds do you want to buy a property, and who's going to pay for the costs. And you cannot, for example, make loans, take a loan in your kid's name, for example, because she or he would not be able to pay the mortgage. So there is, you need to have permission actually. And it's the same if you give a gift to a child, a minor child, you need to make an inventory of the property, and actually every year I think you have to make like an inventory that how this money or whatever has been used, because it is, when it is the child's property or money, you cannot access it as it is your own, because then it's not a gift.
No, even when it is a co-property for me and my child. For example, I buy an apartment with me and my child, and I rent it out, and I am using that rent to pay the EMI, so that, you know, when the EMI is paid and my child is 18, my child, the property is completely owned by me. There's no EMI, and now my child can have it and maybe sell it, use it for whatever purposes.
Yeah, I think this is the thing that you need to, when you make the application, to ask for permission to do this. Then of course, if it's a valid thing that it's rented out and the money from the rent will pay for everything, then why should you not get the permission to do so? But you need the permission.
Where
you will
do
not
we
be
get
able
the
to.
permission? The district court?
No, from the DPA. Yeah.
Okay, the DPA. Okay, yes. Thank you. And I think we have there are many more questions coming, but yeah, we have asked maximum of the questions. And so yeah, there's one more question. I think it is repetitive, but yeah, what happens in case of inheritance where there's no prenup and no surname has been adopted?
What happens in case of
like there's a spouse, there's a married couple, one of them passed away, and there has been no prenup, and the person has not taken over like the husband's or the wife's surname, like this.
Okay, but the name doesn't matter if you had, so there is no like issue with the name. If there is no will, it will be the inheritance will be divided in accordance with Finnish law. And Finnish law is very actually very well founded and motivated. So if you don't have like children from different kind of marriages, then it will not be a problem, I think. So because it's 50-50, so it means that if you have children, they will take 50% and the spouse will get 50, and if you don't have any children, the spouse will get it all.
Okay, and what about the properties in India, for that matter? If there are properties also in India, so that will be divided according to the Indian laws or the Finnish laws?
Finnish law.
If
if Finnish law is applicable to the inheritance, then it is all the property. Worldwide property.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. And we have reached to the end of our session. Johanna and Silva, it was an amazing session. You answered so many questions, and there were so many questions popping up. But thank you for all the information. This was a very, very informative session.
Thank you on behalf as well. We haven't had such an active chat so far with so many questions. So this were a very interesting topic, and you had so many useful answers as well. And hopefully we'll probably need another session around this topic. So thank you so much for this on my behalf.
Well, we would like to say also thank you very much for having us. It was an honor. And yeah, a second session is fine.
And everybody who is watching there, if if you ever have family law issues, if you want this, then please reach out to Johanna at familia.fi, and here is a number. This will also be available. This video will be available on IWF YouTube channel. The link is in the chat, the Facebook Live, where this program is being aired. So thank you everybody. Thank you for joining, and thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.